Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's show, and today we are going to be, like normal, chaotic. I had a friend of mine come in the store today, and who I've helped, with health issues and whatnot, and said he was listening to my shows, and he wanted me to remind people the need to be prepared, need to be really prepared. We got some wholesale food places here in Windsor where I live, and he went to a couple of them and found that there was not a whole lot there to pick. In fact, the pickings were slim. Food shortage is happening, and it's already been rolling around. Food chain is already being messed up. And so he was saying to me that he's with a group of people, and I'm going to encourage you guys to do the same thing. Get networked with other people. He's growing stuff in his garden, cannabis and other things. Someone's making alcohol, another one's raising chickens, another one is growing this. Everyone is contributing. So when the time comes, you can work as a network. The concept of a network is everybody takes a little bit of the load and contributes and trades and barters and exchange so that nobody is lacking anything. Now you have to understand, sooner or later, things are going to run out. So you're going to have to be innovative. You're going to have to know how to store seeds. You're going to have to know how to fertilize your soils. You're going to have to know how to, create bacteria. A bunch, and this will come in time. You're going to have to know how to raise goats, how to raise sheep, how to raise chickens, ducks, whatever you're going to be eating. Aquaponics, where you're raising fish. Everything is going to have supervision and basically initiative to get it going. Okay, everything will be overwhelming if you're doing it on your own. Everything is going to be a problem if everybody does it on their own. Doesn't matter where you live, it's all a matter of how much you can access and who you're going to access with. So start thinking in terms of networks. If you got 10 people and everyone is doing one thing or two things, that's a lot easier than trying to do 10 things by yourself. And as you are stocking different things, salt, garlic, onion, whether it be powder or whatever, or fresh, you may want to buy the frozen garlic. Leave them in the freezer so that when you're ready to plant them in the fall, they will take in the spring because they'll have been striated to survive. And if you have the soil enriched with nutrients, even that Chinese shit from China will start growing way better. Anything you do to the soil, anything you can do to enrich the soil, do so. Winter months or fall months when you're ready to harvest, just cover the soil, layer it with grasses so that the soil can sustain temperatures so that the worms and whatever other bacteria can stay active during the winter months to break things down and to recycle the soil and to prepare it. Put nutrients in the soil. These are things you might want to consider getting to. Buying mineral packets that you can put so much in water and water your soil so that throughout the season you can do whatever. Cover your soil. Put a covering over it like a greenhouse plastic or something so that you can minimize chemtrail fallout or any other epigenetic that might be in the air that you can't see. Water, you might want to start stockpiling water, maybe getting distillers or learning how to make a distiller so that you can distill your own water. These are things, because you're going to need water and you're going to need clean water, for eating and drinking. So even for bathing or doing the sink baths, where you fill up a sink, take a washcloth and you wash your genitals, you wash your pits, you wash your hot spots in your body to keep yourself, clean. Things like that. Soaps, you might want to start looking at stockpiling soaps, Castile soaps, liquid soaps, things that can last a long time. Things that if you put a little drop on the washcloth can make a big pile of lather. These are things you want to look at in regarding to stockpiling. Brushes, having a couple pair of shoes, You don't know when you may need shoes, and depending on what you're doing for a living, how hard you are on your shoes, and if you're off grid, these are some of the things that you may need. You may go through shoes. So unless you have a shoemaker or shoe repairman, or if you learn how to make your own shoes or learn how to repair your own shoes, these are skills that will come in handy when the time comes. See, a lot of the old skills that we had way back before the Second World War may resurface again. Making clothing, tailor-made clothing, shoes that may need to be repaired or be created, belts that, leathercraft. These are things that you might want to learn now that you might have the opportunity. Like I said, we're going to be all Renaissance people, knowing how to take care of ourselves and not need the system. See, the biggest problem that we've all gotten into is becoming reliant and dependent on a system that isn't reliable. And it isn't that good or that effective or that clean. So these are some things that you may want to consider in this. So I'm reminding you that we need to stay in the preparation mode. We need to continue in being prepared. As far as food goes, when you go to the grocery stores, like I said, pick up a couple extra cans of potato, a couple extra cans of beets, a couple extra cans of tuna. Make sure the tuna is only in water, fish, and salt. Corned beef. Make sure it's real beef. Things of this nature. Things that are in a can, that have animal protein. If you can find powdered egg, a powdered egg yolk, whey proteins, these will go a long way as well. Gelatin, collagen. You can make good broths with these things, and again gives you a protein content, and they can last for a long time. So these are things that you're going to want to get. Milk products, dairy products as well, because with dairy you can, if you got bacterial strains or bacterial cultures, or if you take the powdered milk and you make milk, you can add vinegar or citric acid to make cheese out of that. And cheese can be stored. It's a food that can be stored and then used as needed. So like I said, these are things that you might want to learn how to make. You might want to learn how to make wine. You might want to learn how to make brandy. You might want to learn how to make vodka. You may want to learn how to make rum. That's barterable, and they have medicinal properties. They can be used for your own personal health. Anything along those lines, start thinking in terms of bartering. Cash may be useless. Gold will be useless when it comes to times that tough. Gold would be good for buying off a government official, buying off a police, because when you're dealing with gold and you're treating with a common person for chickens, ducks, geese, and stuff like that, gold is not going to be a barterable commodity because it's worth too much, and nobody's going to be able to give you the value of that piece of gold. Silver, on the other hand, can be cut in small pieces. You can buy bars of silver, you can buy a silver coin, and you can cut that and barter and trade by weight. I talked to people from the Second World War, and they said gold really wasn't that as valuable as silver. Silver was easier to work with. Remember that when we are in the tough times, what we're living like today isn't going to be like that in that time. Canada today, someone sent me a video and a picture. Somebody was talking about this on the BitChute. The link's on there as well, where we're seeing now Canadian soldiers wearing hardcore, hardwired military apparel. And they're saying they're doing a training exercise with the vehicles. Now, really, can you not do a training exercise within a camp? So, what are they doing? What's coming down the pipe? See, Canadians are making a big stink about what's happening. And that big stink is indicative to the government of China. And some of you are saying, well, aren't we in Canada? Are we in Canada? Are we in Canada? Or are we an extension of China now? See, I was listening to another podcaster what is that, tweet, whatever. And it's on there. And she was saying that during the protests in Hong Kong, that the Chinese kept interfering by putting a counter, how'd you put it? A counter rally or a counter activity to what they were doing. Now, wasn't that sweet of the Chinese government? So much for freedom of expression, so much for freedom of speech. That's why they want you to wear a mask, so that you can be seen and not heard, so you can bow down to the demon called Baal. Oh, Baal, 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 Baal. So when we're looking at what's happening, China's interfering with our affairs. Who gave China the authority to come into Canada to interfere with our affairs? There are military installations now all over Canada, West Coast, wherever. And this is a problem. I have a problem with this. Why do we have an invading force on our country? Now, I know they're trying to do away with the borders, but we haven't even done away with the borders between Canada and the United States and Mexico. So how is it that China can come over here and interfere with our affairs? Do we go to China and try to interfere with their affairs? You know. So, like I said, when we're looking at what's going on, we need to get a clear picture of this concept of, China, is trying to interfere with our way of life, the way we protest, the way we challenge the governments, the way we can oppose current policies that we don't agree with. That's being undermined. This is why our system has become Chinese. See, under our democracy, both sides are supposed to get a say in what's going on. One side doesn't get the whole works, and the other side doesn't get anything. Like it's been going on with the mask. It's been going on with the whole concept of what we're seeing today. How everything's all, corona, 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 COVID, COVID, corona, COVID, COVID, corona. I like the way they played the game. I love the way they played the game. I love how they, flipped it all around. I love how they did this. I love what they're doing in regarding to how everything's been contorted. See, in China, you don't have free speech. It's censored. If you talk to somebody in China, you can't talk about the government because the government in China is weak. It's a weak government, very weak. It cannot stand up to any kind of scrutiny. If the people of China had actually the right to challenge the government in China, China would have changed drastically. It would have been forced to evolve. Instead, it's in a state of complacency, and as a result, China now has the same kind of censorship, same kind of bullshit in regarding to what the Chinese people can actually hear, the truth that they need to see. They can't see the protests going on in America and Canada. They can't ask why are the Canadians and Americans protesting in North America. They can't. All they can do is see and have the vids being promoted or being audibly being spoken by another narrator explaining to the Chinese what's going on instead of them understanding what's really happening. In other words, a distortion, a malfunction in the truth factor. Another thing, okay, someone sent me, since we're on the topic of China. Oh, China. Guess where your masks are being manufactured? Take a guess. Take a guess where they're being made. You could say China, and you'd be partly right. Partly. But what if I told you the masks were made in Wuhan, China? Wuhan. Where the so-called pandemic popped, where the so-called people were dropping dead because they were being hit with 6G frequencies, the so-called terrorist government activity that went on is now making the masks which they're sending to North America for people to wear. Imagine that. You are wearing some shit made in China. China, China. So you can just imagine how effective, how efficient, how well the masks are made in China. Nothing in China is made worth a shit. It only lasts you about a year. Imagine these masks. These masks probably are so thin in some places that you'd probably be concentrating the infection that you're promoting in your body to produce the pneumonia that you're all producing. Pneumonia is on the rise, but you know what? They'll call it corona. The corona is back on the rise. And speaking being on the rise, how do we know that the numbers are going up? How do we know? Hospitals are empty. If the numbers were going up, wouldn't the hospitals fill up a little bit? It's just my concept here. Maybe I'm thinking, anally. But I'm thinking, if the numbers go up, so-called infections, then why aren't we seeing an increase in the hospital population? Why are the hospitals empty? Why are the nurses being laid off? Why are doctors now being laid off if we have a pandemic? It do not make sense, man. Doesn't make sense. No, man. It doesn't make sense. See, this is what's called having eyes to see, having ears to hear. Not being, again, having our affairs being interrupted or interfered with by China. Something you might want to take a look at. Oh, China. A couple of days ago, the Canadian government was going to lower the Canadian flag and raise the Chinese one over 75 buildings throughout Canada. It was the people of Hong Kong that said, no, you will not raise those flags. Our Prime Minister is about as useless as three tits on a horse, I gotta tell you. They're just useless. Basically, all he knows how to do is roll over, lay on his back, and just pretend he's not there. Be a carpet. It's not entirely his fault, too. I gotta give credit where credit is due. Harper was the one that sold Canada to China. Okay, and now China's basically cashing in on their investment. And I'm not blaming them either. But the Chinese have no business interfering with our democratic process. So if you want to do business, I have no problem doing business with China. I don't care if I'm doing business with a communist or a capitalist. I don't care. To me, they're both one and the same. The only difference is the communist gets theirs at the front, the capitalist gets it at the back. That's the only difference. It's the only difference. You're not free in either society. Your economics are controlled. Your information is controlled. Everything's censored. Any violations that you cross into can be then disciplined by taking your privileges away. Does that sound familiar? They're getting used to you. They're getting you used to your privileges are being taken away from you. And there's absolutely FA going on in Canada that requires this. There's no numbers really going up. The hospitals are empty. Even Pfizer said this the other day, has stated that the pandemic is over. We're over the hump. Even the courts in the United States are overthrowing the governor's power grab. We need to have the same shit happen here. Get these effing premiers and have them sued till they ain't nothing left but their socks for what they've done. Destroyed a viable economy in Canada. And now, oh, Canada. Canada. We have no brains over here. Premiers have filled us with nothing but fear of a boogeyman that does not really exist. Go on and on and on with that one. See, I'm a rapper. I can be a rapper. See, I can and just use the Canadian theme there. But now we are now going to be $1 trillion in debt. Another trillion. We're going to be up to around $3 trillion in debt in Canada. Can you imagine Canada? We only got 38 million people here, and we're going to be carrying a $3 trillion deficit. Our dollar isn't going to be worth a fiddler's fuck. Our dollar is going to be like the Chinese yuan dollar. Useless. The only thing it'll be good for, it'll be wiping your backside with, but the only toilet paper you'll be able to find. Totally useless. You know, if we start thinking and rationalizing, the money that we should be investing in currencies that are going to give us a better rate of return, so that when our currency goes down to crapper, that the other currencies that we might be considering may hold up. Now, I don't know if that will be the case. I'm not sure, because the Canadian dollar is based on oil, just like the American dollar. So if the price of oil keeps dropping, again, our dollar ain't going to be worth a crap. It ain't worth nothing now. Was it $1.35 on the American dollar? You know, this is because we have such great money management in Parliament today. A buddy of mine was saying that earlier, so he's more worried about the economics, because how are we going to pay for stuff in this country? You know, I'm thinking that we're heading for a major depression, a big one. Everyone's buying all these houses at $300,000 and $400,000 or $500,000, wherever they're buying them, but I don't think they're going to be worth 1/5 of that, or 1/10 of that. To be honest with you. By the time it's all said and done, they are destroying everything. Nobody's going to be able to afford to buy a home unless you've already got big money. And even worse, nobody's going to be able to buy food, because A, there won't be enough around, and B, it's going to be expensive as blazes. Look, the governments have taxed everything all to death. The only thing they haven't taxed is like your inheritance taxes, your capital gains tax, or capital gains, because you can get around those, and food. Well, guess what? All of you got to eat. All of you got to drink. All of you got to pee and poo. All of you got to wipe your backside. They are going to tax. That's the one universal thing that you can't get around. And they're going to charge you a tax for breathing. I was just talking to somebody earlier today, and we were talking about erections. So for some of you might say, what are you talking about, erections? And the conversation went along like this. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, when men saw women, mind you, the women looked pretty good back then, but when men saw women, they didn't need a blue pill. They didn't need a yellow pill. They didn't need a red pill. They didn't need a green pill. They didn't need a pink with purple polka dot pill. They didn't need a pill. They took one look at the woman, got a whiff of her pheromones, and said, yes, let's engage. Engage, like the Captain Picard says, engage. That kind of thing, right? And away we went. No blue pill, no yellow pill, no orange. Not today. Today, if you want to have sex, we have this blue pill for you. If you take the blue pill, it'll get your willy to work. Your willy will be working, and you'll be saying, oh, happy day. Then you'll have engaged with that DNA exchange mechanism, and you'll be exchanging your DNA, and when you get done, you have died from a heart attack. Why? Because the blue pill gave you your erection and destroyed your heart at the same time. Welcome to science. Welcome to the science of the endocrine system. Yes, give them a pill. If they're going to go, let them go with a smile. Blue pill. And I brought it up that way because I saw today a mask that had a fan. And this fan was so that you could breathe. Now, isn't that sweet and lovely? You need a mask with a fan so you can breathe. That is so ludicrous, so beyond belief stupid. But yet, there you are, people doing it. Now, when we're looking at air, all of us have to breathe. So they're going to probably give us an air tax and a carbon tax so they can make money to collect what they gave under the CERB program. So everyone thought, wow, the Canadian government is giving us money. Oh, money, yes, the government. And the government works like this. And you better smarten up on this. And you better quit believing that the government gives a shit about you. They don't. All they look at you as a money whore. That's all they look at. You are a money whore. They can get money from you and take care of their needs and wants and desires, and you're just basically a money whore. They pimp you out in the street. You collect the money, you give it to your pimp, that's the government, and they get to enjoy the ride, and you get to enjoy the breakdown. That's the way the government is. If they give you a crumb, they got the loaf. Remember when they passed an HST bullshit? HST was, that's too much money. We can't afford it. The government says, okay, this is what we're going to do for you. We're going to give you back $50 or $80, whatever it is, $50 to $80 a month on the HST, and you can then spend it. You'll have money. Then you can go out and, do whatever. And everyone said, that is so cool. The government is giving us back money. They gave you a frickin' crumb, and they kept the loaf. That's how it rolls. That's how it works. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed as far back as you can go back in history. Nothing changed then. Nothing's changing now, and nothing's going to change in the future. The only difference that will change in the future will be the type of currency, the type of digitized currency that you'll be using. That's what will change in the future. Now, I was watching this movie called In Time, and I was watching this thing, and man, I got an education from this movie. I got to tell you, I watched it, and it starts off where these people are living in the ghetto, and currency now is your life. Your life. Your body is connected to a clock, and when you run out of money, the clock runs out, and you die. That was the theme of the movie. And there is a patent out there that crypto would be tied to your life force. Imagine that. No money, no cash. The digitization of the money that you have will be tied to your life force. So in other words, if you got $1,000 and that's what you start off with, it may give you, say, a month. Or let's say 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So now in that 2 week time frame, if you spent that $1,000 and didn't recharge or renew the account by having it electronically transferred into your clock, you died. You just died. But in there, the guy was sitting there having a conversation with a guy that was trying to end his life. He had 100 years on his clock. He could live a century, and he had just had enough of living. So he has a conversation with the guy that rescued him in the ghetto, and the guy says, he said to him, ever wonder why the cost of living keeps going up? He said, I'll give you some bogus bullshit about taxes and money, and because we have shortages. He said, we have no shortages. And I'm thinking to myself, the truth is coming out there through this fiction. There is no shortages. And I said that for a long time too. There are no shortages. They are created illusions to give one the concept that there is a shortage when there isn't any. We shouldn't have no shortages here in North America, but the blockchain is being blocked or being altered or made to be dysfunctional. But anyway, let me get back to the movie. So in the movie, he explains that the cost of living is there because the reason why you have the cost of living going up, because when you get to a point where people don't have enough money, or if they have money and they got to spend all that money in one day, they would die. This is a way of culling the population. This is a way of curtailing population and controlling the population with fear, stress, and anxiety. The Corona boogeyman with my clock is coming to take us away. That's the theme. So it's an interesting concept, really, when you sit there and think about it. Time being tied to your life force, because it is really. We come into this world. We come into this world with a bare ass, and we're going to leave this world with a bare ass. That's the interesting thing about it. As we came, we're going to leave. You had nothing coming in, you're going to have nothing going out. Whatever's on this planet is going to stay on this planet. Whatever's from God will go back to God. That's how it rolls. Now, when you're looking at, the clock concept and the constantly saying that the cost of living goes up because it's a ways and means of killing the population or keeping the population down in fear and in anxiety. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound at all familiar? Does that sound remotely familiar whatsoever? Being told that you have something that doesn't exist. Not even close to an existence. Yet, here we are today believing in a boogeyman. And that's just it. Once they get you to believe in a lie, once they get you to believe into the deception, once they get you to believe in the bullshit, guess what? They got you. They got you good. They got you so good, you are gotten. And he's telling the guy, there's enough for everybody. See, Hollywood can tell you the truth because it's a fictitious setting that they put the truth in. So when you're watching these things, it's time to really pay attention to what's being said and not just get caught up in the action-packed thriller. You watch these things and you'll find the majority of these stars that are starring in these formats are all, for the most likely, coming from some kind of programming, some kind of satanic nonsense, something. So, like I said, it's time that you understand the nature, where we're at, what's going on, and what is happening. And the masks are a joke. This pandemic is a joke. A bad joke, but nonetheless a joke. So when we're looking at some of the things that are happening today, the deceptions and the manipulations, it's a joke. It's a joke. Like I said, the guy, you'll see it, well, if you look at the movie In Time, download it or access it, however you access it, and you see this movie, you'll see a lot of connections to what we're going through now, the transitioning that we're going from an old system to a brand new system. This is a transitioning phase. When we're having technology basically doing it for us, controlling everybody, controlling the herd. Instead of having a bunch of sheep and a sheepdog to control the herd, now we got a herd with an electronic fence and drones flying above to maintain order. Imagine that. The drones are coming. The drones are coming. We won't be saying it like that when they do come, but they are coming. Imagine being interfered with, being dictated, made to be trained so that we can become more Chinese-like, accepting no-hide laws, which will further put everybody in a yoke of slavery and bondage. And this has become accepted by about 90% of the population. 90%. And like I said, with the food shortages that are occurring and going to be occurring, and the kind of thing where the guy is talking about the cost of living going up to kill and cull everybody, and the fact that there is more than enough for everybody in the world to be able to have everything that they need. And yet we have countries like Africa and parts of India and parts of China and parts of South America, throughout Canada and the United States, who is supposed to be the leader of the free world. Whoa. The poverty is unbelievable. People are not getting fundamental basic things. It's not like there is a shortage of anything. In fact, it's the opposite. There's an abundance of everything. But the media would paint you a story. Oh, the corona boogeyman is coming. But now we're calling it COVID-19. COVID-19. Keep that number in your head. COVID-19. From the corona to COVID-19, because now we have a vaccine that we've had since 2019, and we're about ready to distribute it to you, but we now have to go through the procedures and the drama so that we can keep you mesmerized, to keep you surprised, to keep you stressed, to keep you in anxiety, because by the time we bring that needle out, you will kiss our ass to get it. You will be lined up for miles to have that needle stuck up your ass. But that's okay. We are doing this to you, and you don't realize what we've done. We are keeping that privilege just out of your reach, and we're taunting you with it. We're teasing you with it. We're playing you with it. We're seducing you with it. COVID-19. Instead of the coronavirus. How did that go from coronavirus to COVID-19? What a load of bullshit. But they transitioned that, and that's why. See, if I keep talking about a virus, you're not going to be thinking about a vaccine. You're going to be thinking, oh my gosh, I might die from this virus. Oh, this virus is going so bad. My God, it's horrific. It's a bad virus. 99.9% survival rate. Oh shit, what? That's horrific. God almighty. That's terrible. 99.9 survival rate. Quick, get that vaccine out there. We need that vaccine. We gotta have it. We gotta have that vaccine. Give us that Corona-19. We gotta have it. Give us that COVID-19. COVID, yes, give it to us. But that's what this is all being done. What they did in China to get people to capitulate to their bullshit, because it is bullshit, and what the no-hide laws want you to do in order to become capitulated to that as well, you could not survive either thing. If the Hebrews of yesteryear could not acknowledge and obey the laws of Moses, and they can't comply today, and they haven't complied today, they are the biggest effing hypocrites out there when it comes to this bullshit. Then they're going to require the Gentiles to be obligated to a legalism, and so many Christians have fallen for this bullshit. This is what astounds me. Obviously, I'm reading a different Bible than they're reading. Obviously, I'm reading a different Paul, who was a Pharisee, that blew out that whole legalism argument right out the door. I'm reading a whole different perspective than what they're reading, because under the new covenant, which is what we are under, those who believe in Jesus and those who believe in the living God, we are not under the law. The Hebrews are, and yet the Hebrews can't keep the law. They can't keep the law at all. In fact, they keep breaking the law. And the thing about that is this. Even according to the Torah or the Old Testament, if you break one law, any one law, the penalty is death. Death. Why are these people still alive? I don't know. Maybe because they're breaking that law too. And the only way to get exonerated from that sentence is to have a priest sacrifice a blood sacrifice of either doves, pigeons, sheep, or bulls. Dun, dun, dun. I don't see that happening. Do you? Seems to me a lot of Hebrews are going to go to hell, or to a punishable place. A punishable place. Some of you may not like the term hell, but that's okay. So that's my point. You can't live the Noahide laws. They're impossible to keep. And in fact, if you say you believe in Jesus according to their law, they can take your head off with a sword. That is going to be fun. I got to tell you. You're going to come at me with a sword and I got a gun. Let's see who wins that battle. You know, there used to be a t-shirt. You're an idiot. How did it go? Well, there was actually a racial slur to it, so I won't use the racial slur part. But only an idiot would come to a gunfight with a knife. I'm gonna take it off your head. Yeah, come on down. Let's see who works out. Who wins on this one? I guess the gun won. So much for your sword. Matter of fact, I'll take your head off. That sounds a little morbid, I know. But anyway, I had that part of me sometime. But that's my point. This is my point. This is all about subjugation. This is all about manipulation. This is all about disciplining a people to become compliant or to change the way they believe, think, and feel. I'm not sure what happened to Canada and America. I'm not really sure what happened here. Because freedom was the one thing that meant more than anything else. Meant more than money. Meant more than material things, meant more than relationships, meant more than sex, meant more than entertainment, meant more than the status quo. And yet here we are today in North America, ready to surrender the one thing that made us unique. The concept and the ideology of freedom. We never were free here either. We've never been free in Canada or the United States. We have always been screwed here. And free, because you can't grow stuff without a license. You can't do this without a license. You're being taxed. These are all illegal things that the governments have imposed through some regulatory process, which is completely illegal. Go ahead and try to grow some marijuana, or go ahead and try to distill some alcohol, or go ahead and try to grow some tobacco and then sell it to the general population. They'll be so far up your ass they could count the cornflakes you ate the night before. That's how much freedom we don't have. That's why the bootleggers down in the South and throughout Canada always used to do it, get the bootlegging thing going. It made money. They didn't have to give it to the government. Because see, if you don't cut in the mafia, which is the government, that's your mafia. Mafia is the government. If you don't cut them in, you can't do business. If you don't pay them their extortion money, you can't do business. Because that's what these regulations are. They're extortion money. And every time they charge you a fee for whatever, it's a matter of extortion. And they keep on raising the price of that too, so that only those of you who have the money, the excess cash, can spend it on these things that you're looking to do. And those of you who don't, well, you'll be out of time. You'll have timed out, as the term was used in the movie, timed out. Imagine that cryptocurrency is going to be tied to your life force, connected to a clock. And once you run out of money, you timed out. Ding! He's gone. Throw him with the rest of the bodies, you know. Ding! Gone. Is this how you want to live? Is this where, I mean, when I look at biblical prophecy, I always look at it from two perspectives. One, I'm being warned that if we continue going in the route we're going into, that XYZ is going to happen to you. Okay? That's one way of looking at prophecy. The other way of looking at prophecy is having the capacity to see what's coming and then having the option of either being prepared or to leave. And somehow those concepts have gone by the wayside. Freedom, choice, being able to do things, go places, gone. The there's a class action lawsuit going on right now in Ontario. It's coming from the Peel region. It's coming from Halton Hills. It's coming from London, Ontario. Okay, there's a whole bunch of them that are out there doing it, and we need to get Windsor on board here. This bullshit of your kids having to wear a mask to school, it's bullshit, and you know it's bullshit, and yet you tolerate the bullshit. You need to quit tolerating it. You need to stand up for your kids and tell the school board to FRO. If you don't know what that means, you might want to go back to school, because that's about as Canadian as it gets. FRO. And take the teachers, the principals, to the small claims for damages. This has got to stop, this bullshit. We're having a kid, a 5-year-old, wearing a frickin' mask. I'll start swearing on that one. I mean, so I'll hold back on this. But that's such bullshit. It is such bullshit. And what gets me on this is parents. They allow their kids to be indoctrinated with this bullshit. And the other thing too, they're saying that for every day these kids go to school, they're getting 1 hour of indoctrination on this bullshit on COVID. You didn't send your kid to school to be programmed. You sent these kids to school to be educated, not programmed. So if you get them going to school and they're being educated, or not educated, programmed with these effing masks, I mean, seriously, just jumping on this. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's like you allowing a pedophile to come and kidnap your child so they can traumatize your child, so they can drain the life force out of that child and feed off your child. This is the same shit. It's no different. The only difference is you don't see this abduction process, but the educational system is abducting our children, or the children, people who have had children, because they're not abducting my children because I don't have any. They're in the educational system. But those of you, they're abducting your children, and they're screwing you left, right, and center on this. I wouldn't be a bit surprised about the way the government says, well, if you want some money from us, you're going to have to give us your kid. What? Doesn't that sound like sacrificing your child to the god of Baal, or the demon of Baal and the demon of Moloch? Oh, we'll give you what you want, but we want your children. Send them in here. Send them to the pit of hell. Send them to the fiery furnace. Throw your newborns right into the furnace. That's what you're doing. You're throwing your children into the furnace of Baal, the furnace of Moloch. That's what you're throwing your children into, and that's bullshit. And you should have the audacity and the tenacity to tell the school board what they can do. The coronavirus numbers are all fraud. Now, this is something for you parents who have children, just so that you have and can grasp this concept. I hope you can grasp this concept. Let me try to talk to you on your children's level. Take a walk on the wild side. Go to the hospitals. Walk in. See how full we are. And if you see a hospital that might be full, find out why they're there. The real reason why they're there, not some bullshit reason of COVID. And you might find that the whole damn thing is a lie. The numbers are fabricated, because when you walk in that hospital, there won't be nobody there. And if nobody's in the hospital, where in the frickin' blazes is this pandemic? It's pure bollocks. Period. I'm speaking a little English there now. It's like getting into the Canadian. It'll be all nothing but F-bombs. Bollocks. All of it. And this needs to be applied in Europe too. If this bullshit's going on in Europe, I mean, Italy banned the mask, Africa's banned the mask, other countries are banning the mask. Why in F's name are we allowing this shit to be going on in our country? Like I said, we need to really sober up here. We need to put on a certain level of sobriety so we understand what's really happening here. Your kids are being abducted through this propaganda and this indoctrination. Abduction. And once they get abducted and they get a hold of your son and daughter's mind, you will never get it back again. Period. You will be fighting with that child until you die, because they will have indoctrinated that child with whatever horse shit that they want to put into that child. And that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line on this. So you decide. After all, they are your DNA. They are your bloodline. They are your genetic code. Are you willing to just give it away? Are you willing to throw them into a fiery pit just so you can have a little comfort in your life? You know, this is something you better really consider. Because and have them quit effing around putting that effing thermometer on their forehead. Because that is frying their pineal, hypothalamus, pituitary axis. It's an infrared beam that can go in 4 inches to the head that can cause maybe brain damage or a malfunctioning of that axis that their bodies are going to need and require as they get older, because this is setting up your child to have some sort of robot or some sort of computer chip implemented into their skull, and that ain't going to be fun. That is not going to be fun. So you tell the school board, no effing thermometers on the forehead. They shouldn't be targeting the right hand either. Someone told me today to go to church. I mean, to go to church, you gotta be tested. You gotta have your temperature taken. Like, are you effing kidding me? How long is it going to be before Christians wake the hell up and say, you know, FRO? Probably won't say FRO. I get that fact that you don't speak that kind of language. That's fine. Some Christians do. I know some godly men that will banter that right back. Point I'm trying to get across is, when are we going to, those who go to church, when are you going to start representing God? When? When is God going to come into the picture here? Like I said, the numbers, go to the frickin' hospitals and check them out. Do you see any dead bodies on the street? Windsor has a population of close to 200,000, maybe about 185. Okay, if we had a pandemic in this city, if we really had one, we would be burning bodies out in the street. We don't have enough land to bury them all in. They would burn those bodies. They would incinerate those bodies right there on the street to, again, sanitize the air. Like I said, when? I'm not a church goer. Not much for church. Never was. I do believe in God. I have my talk with God every day. I talk with believers throughout the day, throughout the week. There are all kinds of people to contact me, talking to me about Jesus, talking about the Bible. We're always talking about the Bible, you know. And we get into it, not get into it, but, you know, it's like everyone has their take on what they see, which is intriguing, you know, because, again, you're just sharing. And I'm always grateful for our anybody who I talk to when we talk about God, their input and their insight on things. Because I don't always see things the same way everybody else does, but sometimes somebody says something, you know, that's a pretty good idea. Where'd you get that from? Well, God showed me. Oh, cool. You know, I got no problem with God showing me stuff. That's all right. That is, for me, is on the button. That's right on. That's far out. Whatever you want to call it. That I can handle. Some minister starts talking some bullshit. I have a hard time stomaching bullshit coming from the pulpit. I really do. So when we're dealing, and it's a godly thing, you know, I'm right there, man. We're talking biblical verses and perspectives on what we're reading. You know, that to me is worth its weight in gold. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. You know, I don't need a minister who's going to try to, especially these pedophile ministers and these TV witches that another minister used in the terminology. TV witches. She was being so polite. I just call them a bunch of F-tards or going to hell. But anyway, she was being very polite. I got no problem with that either. So like I said, we are being manipulated here and into a quagmire. We're going to train you to be like robots. Here's the Noahide laws, and we're going to discipline you like we did China. We're going to turn you guys into a one-man band. We're all going to be one big happy family because we're going to walk alike, we're going to talk alike, we're going to be completely homogenized. Ooh, be still my heart. Ooh. So much for your individuality, so much for your uniqueness that God has put inside you. We're going to be a frickin' robot. Unbelievable. A robot. I get so impressed sometimes. Then there's the video we got on here. This where you can hear the guy who invented the PCR test comes right out and tells you it can't be used. So when they say, well, they tested Mr. Trump with a PCR test, so what did they find then? Nothing. They didn't find sweet FA on him then, because the PCR test can't test for COVID or corona or whatever. So again, watch the video. Watch the video. I mean, like I said, we're being abducted and railroaded by everybody. I was telling you earlier about the mask being made in China. There is a link there. It's an upload link about rats having fibers put into their brain and then becoming activated with light. And because you always got people that never can't seem to see or get anything. Anyway, when you watch that, they put those fibers in the mice. You're growing them in your head with the nano that they've infected you with. The fullerene assemblage and the fullerene networks that are going on in your brain right now, you have no idea, and throughout your body. So again, you might want to look at that and take a hard look and read it, because the things that they're talking about is scarier than hell. That they can hit you with a light on your forehead. Now, did you get that? Hit you with a light on your forehead and start manipulating your brain, because that's what you are all doing. You are manipulating the brains of these children, and you're putting them in an F-tard state, and you're going to cause them brain damage. You're going to damage the pineal, hypothalamus, pituitary axis, and you're going to F them right up. If you got to take the temperature, get the old thermometers out. Not going to damage anything unless the kid chews into the thermometer and swallows some mercury, and then there's a good chance that nothing may happen there either. Just bullshit of throwing your child into the pit of hell. Throwing your child into the pit to sacrifice to Moloch or Baal. That's what you're doing. These frickin' masks on a child and on anybody, especially if you've got anybody who's got a health issue. I don't understand what it is about you that you're not getting. If you have any health issue, you don't have to wear a mask. If everybody in Windsor, Ontario read the actual mandate and had a half a brain to read the mandate, they hope that the half that they would see would be the part where they don't have to wear a mask. If you have any health issue, you don't have to wear one. Now, seriously, if everybody took that exemption in the city of Windsor, nobody would have to wear a mask anywhere. And the stores couldn't turn you down either, because you are acknowledging your right. That's the bottom line. And that's what's really need to be required. Alrighty. I think on that note, I'll call it. I'm always talking about the website. I'm always talking about the people on the site. Sherry 3 Arts Church down in Texas. Brian 396 on the West Coast. Ty on the West Coast in the U.S. Yanni over in Switzerland. Myself here in Canada, Central Canada. We're all doing what we can to get you informed and get you prepared. Support everybody that I mentioned as much as you can. If you can't support them, share their information. Share it, share it, share it. It's important that you share it. I also mentioned at the end of the show that, when you get a chance, get a hold of a New Testament. Start reading the Gospels, reading what Jesus had to say. Follow that. Follow that. And only that. What Jesus had to say. If you're a believer, if you're a Christian, and Jesus is the linchpin between here and there, or between here and God, and that's what you believe, c'est la vie. Keep on reading the Gospels. Share that covenant with everybody. Everyone needs to share the new covenant so that those people who have fallen off the wagon and went to the old covenant because some Zionists got involved in their church and brainwashed them with whatever bullshit that they put in there, their theology. Okay, maybe by sharing about the new covenant, you may wake them up. You never know. And the one thing we need to get away from is God's chosen people. That nonsense will keep everybody trapped. God chooses you to come to Christ. That means that God has chosen you. Irrespective of what your ethnicity is, irrespective of what your color is, irrespective of what your background is. If God has chosen you to go to Christ, you're the one that's chosen. Those in the past who were chosen, they may not be of Abraham's seed. Remember that. That's why I tell you, read the Gospels. Read what Jesus had to say. Read what Paul had to say in the letters. It's important that you understand where you really stand. Even Paul mentioned it's neither Jew nor Gentile. Okay? It's referencing about, the importance of either one. It's about Christ, who's the king of all of it. So, again, pay attention to the Gospels. I encourage you to read them. They may benefit you. You may not accept them. That's fine. But at least I'm telling you to at least look at them. At least read them, so that you may understand the hope that Christ does inspire, and that you get to see what was really said, and by what you read, not what's on a pulpit. Like I said, don't trust anything coming from a pulpit until you test it. Alrighty. And as I always say, by the grace of God, we are still here. So until the next segment, to your health, take care.